This program is a production of
Radio 6 International.
Hey, over here!
Oh, I've heard of a cold open, but this is ridiculous. Come on, man, I'm freezing out here. What's going on? Why is the store closed?
It's locked.
I can see that. Why is it locked?
Two Grumpy Studios has been locked for the best part of 4 years. I couldn't begin to tell you where the keys are.
Well, I don't have the keys. Look on that huge key ring you carry about it. It's got to be on there somewhere.
No, it's not on there. I slimmed it down to just the 38 keys I recognize.
Well, don't fall into any rivers carrying that thing about. You'll sink like the last season of Top Gear. Okay, let's take drastic action. Make sure nobody is looking, and I'll...
Whoa! What are you doing?
We have to get in somehow. And this is our only way in.
Knocking the door down with your shoulder?
Well, do you have any bright ideas?
Trying the back door?
Well, we're in now. Prop the door back up and help me get the lights on.
Whoa! Look at this place. Looks like it's been abandoned for more than 4 years.
More like 40 years. Check out the dust. And the cobwebs.
And this half-finished cup of Zlanker's mountain-grown coffee.
Hey, don't drink it.
Tastes all right, if you disregard the taste.
Well, a bit of dusting, some vacuuming, maybe some bug spray for the spiders, some furniture polish, bleach for the toilet, some polish for the floor, and one of those little candles that smells like pumpkin spice, and we'll be set.
I must say, the candle's a nice touch. But do we have time for all that? We're supposed to go on air in about 10 minutes.
Of course we do. Because with a little radio magic...
The place looks exactly the same. You just went diddly-diddly on that old harp. What was that?
Oh, probably just the pipes. It's an old building.
This is a radio studio. We can't have old pipes thudding away.
Wow, that's really annoying.
That wasn't the pipes. Pipes don't woo.
Could be air in the pipes. No, that's not the pipes. I think we've got a ghost.
A ghost? At Christmas? How cliché. I won't believe it.
Show yourself, oh spirit.
It is. It's a ghost.
Yeah, I've only been saying that for the last 2 minutes.
Ask me who I was.
He speaks.
Of course I speak. Now ask me who I was.
20 questions. I hate 20 questions.
Who were you, oh spirit?
I was.
Yes?
I was.
Yes?
Thomas Harrison.
Oh. Wait, who?
I used to cut about with Davy Quiver all the time. No. Mount Cameron Primary School?
Nope, got me.
Come on.
Sorry.
All right, dreadful apparition. Why do you bother us?
All right. Here's the deal. Tonight, you... Look, you really don't recognise me. All right. I'll make it easier for you, although you don't deserve it. Ladies and gentlemen...
There's no gentleman here.
Hey, or ladies.
Oh, but there is. Please welcome renowned author, BBC Radio Scotland, traffic and travel reporter, and national treasure, Teresa Talbot.
I wonder why no one ever asks me to sing. Donald, Donald, stop that! I'm telling you, do not touch. Do not touch my... Oh! I told you she bites. Oh! Hello. Yes, it is I, author of This Is What I Look Like and Penance. Both available on Amazon and all good bookshops, and a few crap ones too. Now, boys, tonight you will be visited by not one, not two, but 3 ghosts. And each ghost bears one topic.
Wait, 3 topics?
You can barely handle one most weeks.
All right, you two, shut up. Shut your traps. Here comes ghost number 1. Oh my goodness, it's Sony award-winning broadcaster and Scottish radio legend, John Collins.
Oh, I'm John Collins, the ghost of stuff past. You're whichever ghost you choose to be. I do radio things in Scotland, and I teach people how to do radio things in Scotland. So come to Scotland and do radio things with me.
A crummy commercial? Son of...
Steady.
Do all these ghosts have something to plug?
Shush! Your first topic is this, your 4 years in stuff. What notable stuff have you been watching, or reading, or playing since the show went off air?
Fair enough.
And now goes number 2. Radio presenter, extraordinaire, songwriter and multi-instrumentalist, raconteur, and intelligence expert. Surely some mistake. Palmer Stevens.
Ooh, I'm Palmer Stevens, the ghost of Christmas presents. The voice of Christmas presents, sponsored by Craft Force and craftforce.com. If you've got the skills in the present or the future to help rebuild America, sign up today at craftforce.com. Ooh, the other guy got to do it.
I hope we're getting paid for all these plugs, or at least something free.
No, you're not. Your second topic concerns Christmas presents.
Oh, I get it now. The ghost of Christmas presents.
Hardly a stretch. Who writes this rubbish anyway?
Shh. If you continue to interrupt me, I'll have to plug my album, Blame Palmer, available on iTunes. You were warned! Your second topic is this: your greatest Christmas presents of all time! What was the present you loved the most? And why? Ooh, scary ghost sounds! Blame Palmer, available on iTunes!
Okay, pay attention now. Eyes down for a full house, ghost number 3. Oh my goodness. It's the man behind Radio 6 International. I'm not allowed to say he's my favourite. Tony Curry.
Ooh, I am Tony Curry, the ghost of media yet to come. None better than radio6.com, eh?
Well, we can't very well complain about that. He is the boss after all.
Your third topic is this. What TV shows or books or films are you most looking forward to enjoying in the new year?
All right, boys, there you go. 3 topics to cover on tonight's show. I'll let you get on with it. Ching ching cheerio.
Cheerio.
Oh, and one more thing. If you are heading home tonight, don't forget, it's kind of busy northbound on the M74 from Junction 5 Reef interchange to 4 Maryville. Mind how you go.
All right, that's enough excitement for one day. Let's get cracking.
Cue the awesome jingle.
Around the clock, around the world, Radio 6 International, Glasgow, Scotland.
We've arrived, and to prove it, we're here. 2 grumpy critics. Back at ya, as they say in the biz. I'm Spike Nesmith. Over yonder is Mr. Paul Higginbotham. Good evening.
How do, and happy holidays.
Happy holidays indeed, yes. That time of the year, isn't it?
Oh, it is the most wonderful time of the year, some might say.
Some might say it. I love Christmas. I have a great time at Christmas, and I love the music, and I love the TV shows, and I've been watching all sorts of garbage that we can catch up on here in the show.
Yeah.
I trust you have as well. You've been consuming a catalogue of crap.
Oh yeah, and I'm a Christmasaholic, just like you. I mean, I love everything about it. You can take almost anything and wrap it in some sort of Christmas theme, and I will consume it, whether it's edible or viewable or listenable. I soak it up. I love it. I'm like a kid.
I watched something last night that I think might even challenge you and your Christmasaholicism. It was called The Littlest Angel.
Yeah.
And it was a TV special from 1969 starring Fred Gwynne from the Munsters.
Yes.
And the copyright is...
Utes?
There you go. Copyright has clearly expired on it. Either that or the copyright's been abandoned because it was so terrible. But you can find it usually in collections of stuff. You know, you when you go to places like Walmart and they've got collections of movies and TV specials and stuff for like $5.
Oh, wow.
And it's all episodes of the Beverly Hillbillies and that kind of stuff. And it's usually available on that. And it's worth a look just almost as an endurance test.
It's right there along with the Fleischer Rudolph cartoon that no one watches anymore. But, you know.
That is creepy, though, that Fleischer one. It's disturbing.
I know. That's why nobody watches it.
Yes. Clearly the most sinister Rudolph in the history of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Exactly.
Yes. But as the ghosts have so beautifully pointed out, we have 3 topics to come back. And I should point out that this is the Christmas special, yes, but we're coming back for a whole slew of shows in the new year, which is going to be fantastic. But it's been 4 years since we've done regular shows.
Isn't that wild?
I know. It doesn't seem like it. But what the ghosts wanted to know was, what notable TV shows, movies, or books that left a lasting impression have you consumed since we were last on?
Yeah, the ghost of stuff past.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, shall I start?
Go for it.
I mean, I'm not going to cover all 4 years, or else we would be here until next Christmas doing this. We wouldn't have a series of shows next year. We just have a show that would last throughout the year. Right. But the main thing, I guess, for me, the past year was, last year was the year of superheroes for me, both in movies and TV. Of course, Captain America Civil War came out, which brought together, it brought Spider-Man to the franchise for the first time, brought together almost all the Avengers. It was sort of like the Avengers 2.5. Yeah. And that was pretty big. Batman versus Superman came out to much critical just blasting. I mean, there was so much hype, but then when everybody saw it, everybody was like, we waited this long for this. It was unequaled in its badness. I mean, how can you ruin such 2 great franchises? I don't understand it. It was so disappointing. The bright spot of that one, of course, was Wonder Woman. I mean, she had the best theme music of any superhero ever. Of course. The heavy metal guitar. That was pretty awesome. Yeah. And she just kicked butt, and it was awesome to see her kicking butt. So the entrance of Wonder Woman was awesome. The rest of the film, horrible. And I don't need to go down the list of things that made the film bad. You can find those in any review of the film. It's just bad. But loved, going back to Captain America though, loved that movie. Loved the introduction of Spider-Man into that universe. And for my money, that was the best film portrayal of Spider-Man to date. Just love it.
You and I have talked about this before. You're far more of a comics aficionado than I ever was. So, I have to sort of go by the movies when it comes to Spider-Man and all that kind of thing. And of course, my introduction to Spider-Man movies was the classic, "Is that the Green Goblin?" movie.
We saw that in the theater.
Which we saw in the theater. So how
is he gonna get up? Is he hurt? The little kid, shut up, kid. We're trying to watch the film.
So what makes this Spider-Man different from is that the Green Goblin Spider-Man?
Well, number one, he's a kid, which he's supposed to be. Right. And I'm going from the original comic books from the whatever it was, the episode of Amazing Fantasy that he debuted in. I'm not that much of a comic geek that I can tell you the number, but from the origins of Spider-Man on the printed page, Spider-Man was a kid. He was a high school kid. He was kind of a bumbling high school kid. And the other ones have made him, they've tried to make him a high school kid, but he's always been played by a guy who probably already graduated from college. Right. So they got the right actor, first off. Second off, it was just, they got his sarcasm and his taunting during the fighting down. Yeah. You know how at one point Falcon even said, "You always talk this much," or, "You're not supposed to talk this much when you're fighting," or something like that. He's just a wide-eyed kid, and he's just talking his way through these fights and making these hilarious quips, and it's just brilliant. It's what Spider-Man was supposed to be.
Yeah. So
I love it.
Were you disappointed with the brevity of Spider-Man in the movie? Were you sort of jonesing for more?
Yeah, I was, but I understood that, that because of I guess the lateness of the deal that they made with Sony to get the rights to him in the movie.
Right.
He was probably just kind of shoehorned in there anyway. They probably had a movie written, and then the lawyers probably rushed through the door, shuffling papers, going, "We got it signed, write him in."
Right.
So they shoehorned Spider-Man into the script somehow. At least that's kind of the way I picture it. Plus, it's not a Spider-Man movie; it's a Captain America movie. So the story, or the movie's not about Spider-Man; it's about Captain America, and it nails that. There's just a great character arc for him, and even for Iron Man too. But yeah, I mean, it was just a perfect entrance to Spider-Man in that universe. Just love it. Mm-hmm. And then the rest of the superheroes come from Netflix. You had Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Daredevil season 2.
I loved Luke Cage in Wild at Heart. I thought he was fantastic in that.
Indeed. and did you see any of those, by the way? Did you watch any of those superhero shows on Netflix?
No, not on Netflix. I watched some of The Flash.
Yeah, Flash was big too. I forgot to mention that. I've been absorbed by season 1 and 2 of that so far.
Uh-huh. And are they particularly good? Do they hold up to being proper superhero? I want to use the word canon. That's not quite what I mean.
Yeah.
Did they match up to the way the comics were? Were they what you wanted out of it?
Well, I have to admit, I've never read a single Jessica Jones comic. Luke Cage, I only read when he kind of popped in and out of different series as Power Man. And Daredevil, I only read maybe a few of his comics. He was never one of my favorites either. But they all have a very Marvel-y feel to them, if that makes sense.
Uh-huh.
The Flash, though, is probably the best live action work that DC has produced, because the DC movies are just crap. I mean, they're so bad. And DC animation, they produce fantastic movies. Mm-hmm. The DC animated films are just dynamite. So I don't know why somebody can't get these two people in a room together, two groups in a room together, and say, okay, animated guys, would you show these guys how to write for superhero characters, for DC characters? Because you obviously don't know what you're doing. But as far as The Flash goes, I mean, it's season 1 was just fantastic. It was everything I wanted it to be. And I was a subscriber to the Flash comic book when I was a kid for a while. And, love that character. And they, they don't stick strictly to the comics, and they swerve, they veer, but they do pretty well. Now, season 2 is getting a little old. I mean, so far the entire second season has been people just piling on Barry for messing up the timeline. And, I mean, after a while, time travel just gets old. I mean, you use it so many times in the same series, and, I'll go back in time again. Oh, who are you? I came from the past. Oh, who are you? I came from the future. Well, I'm going to go back to the past and then jump into the future and then come back. And after a while, it gets really old. And it's wearing thin, quite honestly. But
they should go back in time to when it wasn't rubbish.
I know. It would be nice. But I'm hanging in there.
Yeah.
And then as far as well, to continue on the Netflix theme, I also got into Stranger Things like everyone else on the planet did.
Yes.
And you're the one who turned me on to that, because you were raving about it and talking about how much of a love letter to the 80s it is, and how good of a show. And so I lapped that up and really enjoyed it as much as you did. It was just a fun ride. I'm not sure I'm really optimistic about where they're going to go from here, but as far as just taking season 1 by itself, I think it was very well done. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, so I'm not really sure how they can continue from season 1, and I won't drop any spoilers just in case there's people that haven't seen it yet, but everything was sort of nicely wrapped up at the end to the point where you could quite happily finish and be done with it and never go back to it, which, I wonder if they had anticipated that it was going to be as popular as it was, and there was going to be some demand for a second season. Because I know that when they made Twin Peaks, they made a TV movie as the pilot, and the TV movie wraps up in an odd way. You have to do some noodling. You know, it's not obvious. It's not like, well, that's the murderer caught then, lads. Let's go home. You know, there is a specific ending to the Twin Peaks TV movie if you look for it, because they weren't sure if they were going to get a series out of it. So, you know,
yeah, maybe so. I don't know. I did have the feeling that maybe 2/3 of the way through that the writers were kind of making it up as they went along. And I don't know if that really was the case or not, but I just kind of felt like I could picture them scouring the internet forums, reading about fan theories and ideas, and then saying, "Oh, that looks good. Let's use that." You know, having their script meetings over, you know, while they're reading these forums. I don't know, maybe not, but I enjoyed it. It was a fun ride.
Yeah, it definitely was, and it was. I think the idea that it's the love letter to the 80s is definitely right on the money, particularly to the Goonies, I thought.
Yeah.
You know, the dynamic between all the kids was very Goonie-esque.
Yeah, and E.T. had some E.T. in there.
Yeah.
But, yeah, very Goonies. Yeah.
Yeah, all the guys running around with walkie-talkies, that was a nod to E.T. Supposed to be shotguns in the script, but they changed it to the last minute.
I was dismayed by the lack of Reese's Pieces, though. That really hurt it.
Yes.
Yeah. And really, I mean, those are the only things that were, I guess, notable enough or made enough of an impact on me to really jump into my mind as I was sitting down to think about this topic.
Yeah.
That the Ghost gave us. And then as far as music wise, though, not a lot musically happening this year that I've stumbled onto, but Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
He just made that up.
Yeah, it sounds like it. You know, he sort of, or they sort of jumped to the forefront with their song S.O.B., and there was a lot of novelty factor there, like, hey, listen to this, and then everybody laughs. But then when you get into the album was produced by that classic label Stax. And for all the world, it sounds like it could have been recorded in the 60s or 70s in the Stax studios. I mean, you can just hear the session musicians playing on some of these songs. I mean, it's quite the opposite of the sound of S.O.B., which was their big hit. Very soulful. I mean, you can the spirit of Otis Redding and Isaac Hayes. I mean, all these Stax session players. I mean, they're just there. It's such a dynamite album, and I just fell in love with it. And that was the one musical standout for me in the past year for sure.
I have to tell my session musician story because this always makes me laugh. Have you ever heard of an outfit called Chaz and Dave?
No.
Chaz and Dave were around late 70s into the mid 80s, and they did songs that were in the sort of traditional London style, or London style, as it would be. Because, you know, they would do songs that people would sing in pubs and that kind of thing. And then they had their own songs which are in that style as well. You know, Rabbit is a good example. I want to say Can't Stand Losing You. It's not Can't Stand Losing You, that's the Police, but Can't Get Over You, or something along those lines. Oh, darling, you know, full of that kind of stuff. You know, one plays the piano, one plays the bass. And they do these sort of very Cockney knees up type of songs. Well, they started out as session musicians back in the day because for all their faults, if you want to call them faults, for all the derision that you could heap on them for what they did back in the day, and the songs and the attitude and the whole Cockney knees up type of thing, they are phenomenal musicians and work together incredibly well. So they were session musicians back in the early 80s, and they appeared on a song by a guy called Labby Sifry called I Got The. And when you hear it, it's a very familiar sound, particularly the break in the middle, around about, I think, 2:30 there or thereabouts. There's a little instrumental break, which was sampled in the late 1990s by Eminem for his first breakout song, which was, you know, what? My name is... What?
Slim Shady.
Slim Shady, thank you.
Yeah.
So it blows my mind that Chaz and Dave are the session musicians for Slim Shady.
That's awesome.
It's bizarre. It's totally bizarre. So our British audience will enjoy that one.
That's great.
Yeah. Our audience in New Zealand may be scratching their heads. Well, I've had an interesting 4 years and stuff. I've watched a lot of TV, watched a lot of movies. Nothing really has stood out to me. There's, a lot of stuff that I'm quite happy to have seen but don't ever need to see again, or stuff that I've liked but it's not been like, the great Citizen Kane moment. Mm-hmm. But the one thing that did stand out over the past couple of years is something which I think, and I say this without a hint of sarcasm or anything like that, I think possibly the best show that America has ever produced. Mm-hmm. And I came to it late, so this is
Keeping Up with the Kardashians?
Oh, so you looked at my notes, didn't you? Oh, curses. No, it's Breaking Bad.
Oh.
And I'm going to sound like I'm terribly behind the times because everyone's seen it now. Everyone knows all about it. It's a couple of years old, but that's really the standout for me for the past couple of years.
Well, I can top that because I haven't seen a single episode of it.
You know what?
So I'll top you on being behind the times.
Okay. Okay, that's good. I don't know. I think Netflix might have it, but well worth watching and goes in all sorts of directions that you don't necessarily anticipate. And it is sort of quintessentially an American plot because the whole idea behind the show is that this guy who is a chemistry teacher contracts cancer of some kind. I can't remember what kind of cancer it is. And long story short, ends up producing meth in order to pay for his medical bills and in order to leave something for his family because they're telling him that the cancer is inoperable. Mm-hmm. So it's funny because I say it's quintessentially American because it's got that American ingenuity about it and problem solving that Americans are good at, but it also has the terrible idea behind it that a guy has to cook meth in order to pay for his own healthcare.
Right.
That it's not free.
Yeah.
And that's something I think that a lot of the British audience were sort of fascinated by.
Right.
Because I know when I came to this country, I didn't expect to have to pay for healthcare.
Oops.
Yeah, it was a very interesting situation walking in to have a checkup or have some minor, healthcare deal dealt with. Yeah. And then someone saying, right now, is it going to be plastic or cash? Cough splutter? What?
I guess that would sort of remove the driving force or the motivation behind the entire show when you're used to getting free healthcare and you're thinking, what?
Right, exactly, yeah. It would last about an episode and a half and then it would be
It's
done.
sort of like if Romeo and Juliet had cell phones.
Right.
Pretty much kind of put an end to that drama.
Yeah, that's true. But Bryan Cranston is a phenomenal actor and is able to carry this show on his back solo. Mm-hmm. The guy who is his sidekick is very annoying, extremely annoying. Yeah. But that's because I guess when the show got big, he decided that in order to get more interviews and more screen time and to improve his public opinion, he would basically be the character rather than be himself when he was being interviewed.
So we're talking like Cousin Oliver on Brady Bunch annoying, or the Great Gazoo on Flintstones annoying?
Yeah, a cursing Cousin Oliver. That's a good way to put it.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's really the standout for me these past few years. And again, I came to it late, so I was able to binge watch most of the show up until the last season, more or less, that I had to then watch on a weekly basis, which just kills you when you get so used to watching stuff that's on demand. When you have to go back to watching something once a week, it just absolutely kills you.
Yeah, that's what we've been with The Flash this year. It's like, a whole week? Come on.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that's so fun.
That was the question that the first ghost gave us. The notable TV shows, movies, or books that left a lasting impression that people have consumed. Yes.
I forgot to mention the one that was top of my list, and that's because it wasn't a superhero, so I skipped over it at first. But I've rekindled my love affair with the great TV and radio show Gunsmoke.
Oh, yes. Interesting.
I've just been gobbling those things up. The Encore Western Channel shows 2 of them every night. I DVR them, so I'm watching Gunsmoke every day. And on my way to work, I listen to some of the original Gunsmoke radio shows with William Conrad. And I mean,
William Conrad, Cannon.
Yeah. And the narrator in Rocky and Bullwinkle. But
I didn't know that.
Yeah, but just dynamite shows. The radio shows were so groundbreaking, and the TV show, while not necessarily groundbreaking, was just phenomenal. Great ensemble cast, such good stories, and a whole lot of coffee and whiskey.
And I would imagine most of the Gunsmoke episodes, the copyright's probably out on them, so you could watch them at archive.org, or at least listen to those radio shows.
Yeah, it's possible. Maybe so. I did find a website that has what looks to be almost every single Gunsmoke radio show on it. And I just and fortunately the streaming works on the iPhone, so that's how I can just
great.
Pick one on the way to work and crank it through the Bluetooth. But I just love that stuff. Great show.
Isn't Gunsmoke the longest running TV show of all time?
I believe it is. I think the radio show ran 10 years, I think from 55 to 65, and then I think the TV show maybe started even in 60 or something like that, and it ran for 20 years. Maybe it was 65 to 75. I know it ran concurrently with the radio show for a while, but the TV show ran for like 20 years, and I don't think it's number one in the number of years, but maybe it is in the number of episodes. I can't remember which.
Yeah, I think so.
Because that was back before they did like 13 shows a year and called it a season like they do now. They used to do like 25 or 26 episodes.
Yeah.
So, great stuff.
Gunsmoke in color. Well, we asked the internet what their notable TV shows, movies, or books that left a lasting impression was, and got a nice response. Alan says, 4 years you've been away. You've only missed one season of Sherlock. And he says Star Wars has stopped turning to the crap side, but there's a spoiler alert of gargantuan proportions, he says. That sounds interesting. Okay. Sean says Arrival, Orphan Black, and Midnight Special. Wasn't Midnight Special one of those variety shows that they used to have on a Saturday night after Saturday Night Live?
If not, it should have been.
Yeah. I think it was, because that was the show that Andy Kaufman was... they did a Midnight Special with Andy Kaufman, and that was the one that they portrayed in the movie Man on the Moon, where he wants the picture to disappear on the TV. There's some joke he wants to pull to have the picture disappear to get people really mad that their TVs might be broken.
Oh, yeah.
And the executives all like, no, you can't do that, you can't do that. So I'm fairly certain that was Midnight Special, but he may be talking about a different Midnight Special. Yeah. Kelly says, I think something interesting that's happened in that time is the growth of on-demand services like Netflix. It's given me the opportunity to watch shows I couldn't at the time of their original run, like The X-Files. I can also delve more deeply into the shows I've always loved, like Star Trek and The Twilight Zone.
Yes, two of my favorites.
Yes, definitely. Twilight Zone is something that we are starting to introduce my daughter to. Because she likes a good mystery, she likes a bit of science fiction, she likes things being weird and on their head. And I said to her, you need to see The Twilight Zone. You absolutely have to see it. And I said to her, when we were talking about The Twilight Zone, I said to her, what's your number one fear in the world? What's the thing that scares you the most? And she says, being left alone and not having anybody around. And I said,
so you had to show her the very first episode.
I said, that's the first episode. That's how good this is.
Brilliant.
Every fear that you've ever had, you will find it in The Twilight Zone.
Yes.
But I figured,
so funny.
I figured we would start along those lines, and I showed her Time Enough at Last. And she was suitably creeped out by it.
Yeah.
Not terrified like the time I showed her Ghost Watch, but she was creeped out enough by it. She enjoyed it.
Good. That's awesome.
Yeah, so we're going to work on more of those. Jerry says there's been a few TV phenomenons in that time. Breaking Bad, Stranger Things, Doctor Who fans have been given the amazing Peter Capaldi. Some shows I've really enjoyed that I didn't expect to, like Sons of Anarchy. Not usually my cup of tea, but I loved it.
I haven't seen that one.
No, I haven't either. Rather enjoying Gotham and Designated Survivor, he says.
Haven't seen those either.
Yeah. Well, I may have to go and look at Sons of Anarchy because I've seen the promos for it and I've seen the posters and I've seen it listed and it just looks crap. It just looks like something that I would not in the least bit be interested in.
Well, to me, it didn't look like crap, but it looked like something that I just wouldn't enjoy. That's kind of always the way I viewed Breaking Bad. I mean, I succumbed to its, I accepted its critical success, and I would never deem to question it. But I just thought, I don't know if I'd be interested in seeing a guy making and selling meth and all the headache that goes along with it. But I could be wrong.
Yeah. It is more than just making and selling meth. There's a whole dynamic that goes on throughout the entire show that's very,
printing
very
coupons,
good.
You
exactly,
Two for Tuesday, dollar dog, that kind of thing.
I think you can go 5 miles further down the road and get gas cheaper, Brian. It's Two Grumpy Critics with Spike Nesmith, Paul Higginbotham's Radio 6 International, and our second ghost asked us, what was your banner gift as a kid? Your favourite present you ever received, and why?
What was yours?
Mine was definitely the Commodore Amiga.
Nice.
I got that. It was a total surprise on Christmas. Not that I had guessed all my other presents, but this was something that I never in a million years expected to get. And here it was. And the reason that it's so amazing is not just that it was a surprise gift. It is the present that really sort of formed what would become my career in a lot of ways. Because the Amiga, it was an Amiga 1200, and I had a word processor on it, which you couldn't really do with the Commodore 64, which is what I had previously. There was some word processing programs, but they weren't as powerful as they could be on the Amiga. There were proper word processing things where you could do bold and italics and cut and paste and all that kind of stuff. So
see, we had a Atari writer, so
right.
there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was that kind of thing. And, I could start writing stuff, and I was up till 3 and 4 in the morning some days with the Cranberries album playing. It was either the first Cranberries album or it was the IRS years of REM, which was my other go-to album for writing. And, of course, I wrote all kinds of stuff that I would, mess about with my friends. Got into radio, was able to write for radio, and it's really all because of the Amiga 1200. There was no other way I could have done it with any other computer. And also, all these times playing games like Sensible Soccer, like Emlyn Hughes International Soccer, the Amiga turned me into a football fan. Because I was only sort of marginally interested in it to begin with, but when I started playing these games with my friend Fraser and playing it by myself, it really got me into the rules. I understood how the game worked, I understood how the dynamics worked, and it turned me into the football fan I am today, the hooligan, some might say. So that was my banner gift as a kid.
That's a great gift.
Yes,
that's great. Mine is very much the Red Rider of my generation, and I'll be very surprised if at least one other person doesn't mention this gift. But my the best all time was the Atari 2600.
Yes.
I mean, that was the that was the one. It was the one along with Magnavox that brought video games into the home. And like the Amiga for you, this has sort of shaped my life because it basically it taught me how to just waste my time and goof off, and I'm awesome at that today. I really am. I mean, just sitting, staring at screens and pressing buttons. I mean, accomplishing nothing.
Right.
No motivation other than getting to the next level. Pale skin. Asthma. But I mean, it just shaped the man I am today. It's I just sit indoors and goof off, and I will always love it for that. But I mean, there was just there was just nothing better than, I mean, opening that on Christmas morning, and and you had that, and you had the combat cartridge with it, and pretty soon over the next few years, you had that beautiful rainbow alignment of boxes, the Atari 2600 boxes that just lined your shelf, and you just even when you weren't playing a game, you would just stare at it and go, "That's mine.
Yeah,
that is awesome. Look at all those games. I could play that one if I want to. I don't want to, but I can.
Yeah,
and I don't need quarters. I can play that one.
Mm-hmm.
But it was brilliant. I mean, it was the beginning of the future.
You're master of your own domain. I could play Mega Mania, but I won't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And of course that was the gateway drug, because that led to years later the Atari computer, which I got in my home, and that of course turned into the Windows computer, and then and so on and so on. But I mean that was it was such a benchmark. It was just so awesome. Loved it.
Well, listen, the Atari 2600 teaches you hand-eye coordination. It teaches you tenacity.
Mm-hmm.
So there's something to be said for playing video games.
I guess, yeah.
We asked the internet what they thought, what was their banner gift as a kid, the favourite present they ever received. Brian says in 1985, I got a colour portable television.
Oh, nice.
A few years previously, I'd been given a black and white portable, but having my own colour television in my bedroom seemed like the greatest thing ever.
I remember that. That was huge.
Yeah, it was a 13-inch Toshiba, and it's still working. My dad has cannibalized it for parts over the years, but it's still going strong in my parents' house back in Derry.
Nice.
Wonderful. Sean says, my first black and white TV as well. Got it in about 83, and it finally died around 96. I watched that thing in the garage for years, freezing my backside off, but it was worth it. Yeah.
Nice.
Fraser, my friend Fraser that we were talking about, says, as I'm sure you'll remember, the Commodore Amiga 500 Plus. Many happy hours were spent with that machine. Or possibly the Castle Grayskull I got one year.
Nice.
The search for which is now family legend. My mum eventually found one at a market, so it's entirely possible I got a stolen one intended for some other kid.
Oh. Wow.
Yeah. Stephen says my Grover and Big Bird Sesame Street puppets, and a goodly size for both of them too.
Nice.
Did they import Sesame Street to Scotland in your era, or did you have to settle for Fleet Street, a festival of carnage? Jay says a 3-way tie: Death Star playset, Max
I always
Machine.
wanted one of those.
Yeah, Max Machine and Stretch Monster.
I had Stretch Monster and Stretch Armstrong.
Mm-hmm.
Top toys. Awesome.
I don't think I ever saw Stretch Monster. That's a new one on me.
Yeah. One of them eventually ruptured, and the goo that's inside it just kind of spewed out all over my closet.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I don't know how it happened. It's just a temperature change or something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Just leakage.
Yeah. What's Max Machine? Is that like a fax machine for kids?
I don't know.
I never heard of Max Machine before.
Yeah, right. Max Machine.
Yeah. Jillian says, Melody Madness, no contest. You ever see Melody Madness?
No.
It looked like a jukebox. It had, up at the top, it had the two sort of rainbow-shaped lights that would flash, and it would go... And it was basically just the same as that game you play with cards, where you put the cards all face down, and you lift one up, and you try and find the match for it.
Oh, okay.
Melody Madness was you pressed one of the buttons. There was like, I don't know, 36 buttons on it. And you pressed one of the buttons and it would play a tune. Do-do-do-do-do-do. And then you had to find, is it number 2? Do-do-do-do-do-do. And then that was great. You won the game. Or,
cool.
Did you press do-do-do-do-do-do? And then you pressed another one and it was do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. And then you didn't win the game. So yeah, Melody Madness was good stuff.
That's great.
Mary Jane says, a necklace with my kids' and husbands' names.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yep. Tim says the Palatoy Treehouse, because in my mind it was a spaceship.
Yes.
Did you ever see the Palatoy Playhouse?
I did not.
Treehouse?
Nope.
That was neat too. We had that very one. It was literally like a plastic tree, and you turned it round, and it was a cutaway of the inside.
Oh.
And it was like a little kitchen and a little living room, and then there was an elevator you could wind to take your figures up and down.
So you could even pretend you were an elf making cookies.
There you go, exactly. Yeah. Tracy says, my first stereo when I was 14 years old because I love music, and the Madonna Like a Virgin cassette tape that I got with it that Christmas.
Yeah.
Tracy, another Tracy says, of course, mine has to do with music, but I remember getting an 8-track, and it was my heartthrob Rick Springfield. Jesse's Girl loved it.
Oh, yes. And the first song that I ever remember that had the word moot in it.
Yes, moot.
Love it.
You're right.
Yep, love it.
Terry says, husband put together a collage of pictures of my dad that passed away. Made me so happy I cried.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah. Alice says, I have a few. My mum made me a dollhouse when I was little. My husband bought me a Mr. Potato Head because I never had one. And every present my kids ever got me.
That's sweet.
That's nice. I still have the cups that my kids got me from the little charity store that they do in school.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
My kids both got me coffee cups, which I absolutely treasure because I unwrapped it and it was a coffee cup and I went, you pay attention. This is exactly what I need.
Very nice.
Yeah. Oh, you'll like this one. Ben says the Kenner Millennium Falcon. Because Kenner Millennium Falcon.
I had that one. Loved it.
Yeah. And Murray says last year's kilt because kilts.
All right.
There you go. It's Two Grumpy Critics on Radio 6 International. I'm Spike Nesmith. Mr. Paul Higginbotham is over yonder. Our final question is to do with what TV shows or books or films or video games are you most looking forward to in the new year?
Just offhand, more superheroes. I mean, you've got Iron Fist coming out on Netflix really soon, which I'm looking forward to. The Defenders coming on Netflix, which is going to be the Netflix answer to the Avengers, because you're going to have all the Netflix heroes on one show. Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Daredevil, and then Iron Fist will all be together on the show for, I think, 8 episodes. Looking forward to that. Stranger Things Season 2, we already kind of touched on that, but kind of looking forward to that, but just a little bit hesitantly. I'm not really sure what to expect out of that. And then, of course, the next Star Wars coming out next December. I can't wait to see Episode 8. Yeah.
Yeah, I never thought about that. Star Wars coming out.
Yeah. Cannot wait. How about you?
Well, don't say anything, but for Christmas, Mrs. Spike is getting an Xbox One.
Yes.
So there's a couple of things that I'm looking forward to on the Xbox. First of all is that poker game that you recommended to me.
Yeah, Prominence Poker.
Prominence Poker, yes, that's the one. Yeah,
it's free to play. I mean, you get in and play, and you don't have to spend real money unless you want to buy yourself your little avatar a shirt or a hat, which I think is silly. So get in and play for free.
That's really all that they make you pay for, shirts and hats?
Yeah, I mean, you can buy different drinks to put on your table. You can buy clothes. You can buy different accoutrements to put next to your drink. You can put a little ashtray with a cigar. And I mean, it's silly what you can spend money on, but you can just hop in and just play, and you just wearing your starter clothes for as long as you want.
Now, is the game free, or do you have to pay for the game?
No, it's free. You just download it.
Wow.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to this even more.
Away you go. Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to that because you and I can play together, because you have an Xbox One as well now.
Yes, I do.
So you've had it for a little while. So
gamer tag Jocko Pablo, hit me up, y'all. Woot, woot.
I'm looking forward to it because back in the days when you used to be able to, well, you can do it now as a recent addition, but back in the day on Facebook, you used to be able to play different games. And I used to play poker with a friend of mine while I was at work. Don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
And
I got in some matches with you a couple of times. I joined your table a few times. That was good fun.
That's right, yeah. But we used to have regular poker nights with my sister-in-law, who lives up in the northern part of the state, and we lived down in the southern part of the state, so we were, 2.5 hours away. And we used to get on to the poker table, all on the same server, that kind of thing, on Facebook, and all get together. And we would play poker and we would chat. and we would pick a radio station to listen to that we would all listen to. And I think it was Sky. 80s Sky is this company. It's not the Sky that you know in the UK, but it's a different company that they do different radio stations. There's like Sky 80s and Sky 90s and Sky Top 40 and Sky
and then
Christmas. And
then they have one with 70s rock hits called "Excuse Me While I Kiss This Sky," which is one of my favorite Sky channel.
Very good. So we used to connect to Sky 80s, and we would sit and chat in the poker room while we were playing, and we would try and guess what was coming up next. So we would say something like, I think it's going to be a female singer coming up next. And we would see, who was right, just for the fun of it. Or I think it's going to be Duran Duran next, that kind of thing.
Nice, that's
so
fun.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to playing poker with you on the old Xbox.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Something else I'm looking forward to is Grand Theft Auto 5, which I've got for the Xbox 360. But I'm reliably informed that the Xbox One version is a complete recode. And it looks even better. The animations are different. And they've been reanimated, that kind of thing. And I love Grand Theft Auto, but not for the reasons I think most people love Grand Theft Auto, because I don't play the missions. Apart from the fact that I'm terrible at them, they just don't really interest me. It's sort of, you get some guy whose mouth doesn't quite match what he's actually saying, "Hey, I want you to go out and ice this guy." That doesn't really interest me that much.
Yeah.
So, what I do in Grand Theft Auto is I go out into the world, because it's what they refer to as a sandbox game, where you can just go and do whatever you like, wander around the world.
Sail the Seven Seas.
Sail the Seven Seas, exactly. And what they've added in Grand Theft Auto 5 that they didn't have in Grand Theft Auto 4 is, at least not that I was aware of, is that you now have a cell phone.
Right.
So you use the cell phone in the missions to call, Swift Tony or, whoever it is, so you can go, "Hey, I want you to ice this guy." But what you can also do in Grand Theft Auto 5 is you can take pictures with your cell phone.
Right.
And I just had an absolute blast with the Xbox 360, walking around in this world, hopping on buses, hopping on trains, walking down streets, because it is a thing of legitimate beauty, this game, once you get past the idea that it's violent and it's full of bad language and it's potentially homophobic and misogynistic. If you're just in that world walking around,
you just described the president and vice president elect. Are we still talking about Grand Theft Auto? Have we switched gears?
Grand Theft White House, that's what we're talking about now.
Yeah, okay.
But the world that you're in, this city that you're in, is gorgeous. The sunsets are gorgeous. The buildings are detailed. The cars have reflections on them. If you crash one of the cars, it folds up and it looks realistic based on how you crashed it, that kind of thing. And I've received some eyebrows from people when I tell them that I let my son play Grand Theft Auto. They're like, no, he's not playing Grand Theft Auto. He's just, out in the world, and he likes getting in the cars and racing and smashing the cars up and that kind of thing.
Yeah. See, my daughter really wants to do that. And I owned Grand Theft Auto 5 for the Xbox One. And I guess my mistake was actually playing the missions. Because not only is there must have been a quota for the writers that you had to have an F-bomb in every sentence. Sometimes twice.
Right.
But the missions themselves and the characters themselves are so vile, so foul. And for a while, I just sort of, I just bit the bullet and kept on going. I thought, okay, maybe this is the worst one. Maybe it won't get any worse. And then finally, there was a mission where one of the characters ends up covered in feces from head to toe. And at that point, I hit eject, and I took it right to the store and traded it in for something. I said, I don't even I don't even want this in my house. I don't even want to know that it exists. I don't care if you can just drive around. I don't care if you can take pictures. I don't want this to be in the same house as my child. It was horrible. So I got rid of it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the way I see it is what he does in Grand Theft Auto, and I should point out that I'm with him the whole time. You know, I don't let him play it by himself. The volume is down because there's still, cuss words in the game.
Yeah, people cuss at you. Pedestrians cuss at you when you're driving along.
Right.
Like, what did I do to you?
Yeah. But the way I see it is he's not doing anything in that game that he wouldn't do with Hot Wheels cars.
Right. Yeah. With this, no missions and with the sound down, you're absolutely right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's when you're just left with that world, that vast world to explore, where you can climb ladders to go to the top of buildings and all sorts of stuff. It really genuinely, legitimately is a thing of beauty. It's an amazing game, and it's so well put together that you almost wish they would release two different versions. The version with all the missions in it, and the version that's just the city, where you're just walking about doing whatever you want to do.
Yeah, with a mute button where you could say, I want to listen to the radio in my car, but I don't want to hear any of the knuckleheads cussing at me from the sidewalk.
Right, yeah. So we asked the internet, what TV shows or books or films or video games are you most looking forward to enjoying in the new year? And Cody says Star Wars Episode... 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yes.
Star Wars Episode 8. He wrote it with the Roman numerals, and I had to count it in my head.
The one where Mark Hamill finally gets a line.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah.
Gareth says, I'll be the honest one to say it. Silently looking forward to the Lego Batman movie if it's anything like the Lego movie.
That'd be worth a look, sure.
I don't think you have to be embarrassed by that. The Lego movie was brilliant. It was
I was
really
disappointed by the Lego movie. By overall, I guess I went in with my hopes too high or something. But
maybe.
But the Lego video games are a riot.
Yeah, they definitely are.
Writing's very clever.
Shelley says the final season of Orphan Black and the new season of Game of Thrones. Mm-hmm. That's we could go on and on about Game of Thrones. I don't understand how Game of Thrones isn't classified as soft porn. Maybe
Who says it's not?
Well, that's a good point. Well, HBO says it's not. They say it's drama.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whatever.
But we'll talk about that another day.
So is Emmanuel, okay?
There you go, yes. Jackie says, Beauty and the Beast with Emma Watson, can't wait.
Oh, yes. I watched that trailer with my daughter a couple of weeks ago when it came out, and it just looks brilliant.
Yeah. Jillian says, Game of Thrones, last week with John Oliver. Inside Number 9, RuPaul's Drag Race, and I'm intrigued by Season 3 of Fargo.
I haven't even watched any of the Fargo TV show.
I haven't either. I guess it's supposed to be good fun, though. Mm-hmm. Mel says the final season of The Leftovers, Season 3 of Fargo, and the back half of Season 7 of The Walking Dead.
See, Walking Dead is another show I've never seen a single episode of, and everybody talks about it, like Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
I just haven't seen it.
Yeah.
I think I just suffered from zombie fatigue. There was a time there when every video game, every TV show, every movie was all about zombies, and I was just like, it was either zombies or vampires, and I just had enough. It was bad timing for me.
We'll talk about The Walking Dead one of these days, because I think as much as they claim that Night of the Living Dead is canon for their zombies, it doesn't have the same social commentary that the George A. Romero zombie movies have.
Right.
You look at Dawn of the Dead's a great example. It's dripping with social commentary. There's all sorts of stuff going on in that movie that's not really necessary to do with zombies. Mm-hmm. The zombies are just the vessel through which he gets the point across.
Right.
But so there you go. So that was what the internet has to say about that. We'll be back in January, as I say, for a whole slew of new shows. And next episode, what I want you to think about is your anonymous media confessions. What would you like to confess? Have you never seen The Godfather Part 2? Do you not like Singing in the Rain? Send it to us at the usual address, which is...
The usual address, at gmail.com.
And your confessions will be completely anonymous, and we'll read them out on the next show. All right, good show. Thank you very much, Mr. H.
Thank you, and have a very Merry Christmas.
Thank you very much, and same to you. And same to all of you, my dears. Happy holidays and all that kind of jazz. Media Confessions, next show. This is Radio 6 International.
A Radio 6 international production from the USA. Copyright 2016.